Hi, Corey. Welcome to AHA today.
Well, thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here experiencing your new gig with you.
And I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you today. So, as director of the Upstate Alliance for the Creative Economy, I wanted to get a little bit of history. What is ACE?
Well, ACE is really an organization that's representing the interests and creating awareness of what we term the creative economy in the Capital Region, which is an 8-county area. It really came together as a convening of luminaries in the creative industries that were trying to figure out a way to pursue a new funding opportunity that Governor Andrew Cuomo had put together called the URI, the Upstate Revitalization Initiative. And so there was a chance to be able to capture some of those funds to reinvest in our community in the arts and cultural sector. And so these folks got together on a regular basis to meet about that and eventually decided that a formalization of this group to kind of pursue this mission would be advantageous to our region and the organizations involved.
Love to see the support, don't you? Especially from our officials.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's really important. I think a lot of times creative individuals are siloed in that they're individual or freelancers and they don't have the same voice that folks in different industries have. And yet our industry as a whole is a powerful segment in the economy. In fact, pre-pandemic, it was coming in at almost as large as the construction industry for raw dollars that it was generating.
That's beautiful. So how would you define the creative economy? Like, for artists or folks who don't know what a creative economy is, how would you define that?
Well, basically, there was like 5 areas that we've identified that we felt were representative of the creative economy in the Capital Region. Was media, design, preservation, visual arts, architectural heritage, and eventually we added artisanal food and beverage.
There we go.
I know, right? ADCO. Anyway, yeah, so within that spans a number of different types of jobs and different employment functions. It could be a game programmer, it could be an architect, it could be an artisan chef working at a farm-to-table program at a small restaurant in Catskill. But ideally, the power of this particular market segment is that we are the placemakers in our region.
Yes.
So when you go to Catskill and you go to like that really cool and hip coffee shop called Hilo that Liam and Laura started, you know, that's what makes part of what makes Catskill a great place to live. And the same thing's happening in Troy. The same thing is happening across our region right now. And in large part, we feel that we have a disproportionate effect, maybe I'm a little haughty to say that, but I believe it, on creating a real value proposition for living in upstate New York. And so we just want folks to understand what we're doing and why it's so valuable to us.
Seriously, and I will say, just from my own experience as a muralist and artist myself, it helps bring people in. When people see that your city is thriving artistically, they're attracted to that. Is that something that you see often?
Yeah, it's always been something that's a differentiator. You know, why are certain areas of our region just on fire right now? You know, I was talking to Assemblyman John McDonald recently, and he's like, Troy is a story.
Yes,
and why is Troy a story? Because there's these amazing mural programs going up, i.e. Uniting Line. Thank you for that. But also there's the Art Center of the Capital Region is putting together a very robust public arts program. And we're seeing that happening and rippling across the region, including, I was recently up in Glens Falls and they just started a mural program up there.
That's beautiful.
But it's more than just that. It's the historical foundation, it's the cultural museum, it's the Hyde collection. It's all these things that really give people a great opportunity to raise their family here and have a good quality of life.
So in your opinion, what can we do locally to shift and build our creative economy here in the Albany, Troy, and Schenectady area?
Well, you know, I've been working to re-envision what ACE looks like in a post-pandemic world. And it occurred to me that ACE really stands for amplifying, educating, and collaborating. And then the exclamation point that we've added is amplifying all those things. So really, if we're doing our job and we're fitting things into those categories, we're helping people to understand how to be sustainable as creatives in our region. And we're also broadcasting out a message that helps folks to understand that if you're in the creative industries, upstate New York is an excellent option for you to move your business or to be here. Because honestly, you have kind of some of the best of both worlds, where you have this region, when you look at it as a cluster, is the equivalent of a large city When you
Yes.
put together Schenectady, Troy, Saratoga, all these areas, and yet we still have that beautiful wilderness. We still have a lot of artisanal and niche creative industries here that could rival any other region in the country, I would argue.
It's beautiful, and I agree. I love all those cities, and they're filled with creatives. Folks would be surprised with how the Troy, Schenectady, Saratoga area is just filled with artists, just filled with amazing, talented, beautiful, creative people. Which, when I moved to New York, I was surprised, but I was like, oh my God, look at this! Right next door, I'm next to someone who is just doing amazing, beautiful things that you would see in the MoMA.
Yeah, and I mean, it's even more than individual artists. When we think creative economy, it's very easy to think, oh, the musician, the painter, but it's our cultural institutions, it's our performance arenas, it's all those things that make a place whole. You know, and when you look at the talent that's involved in those industries and the institutional level, our educational institutions that are focused in some of these areas, like we are an economic powerhouse. And the question is, how do we continue to maintain people in our region by continuing to amplify and create those attraction points so that they'll want to stay here and look at this place as a destination to live and to move their business?
Exactly. Want people to stay in Albany in the upstate area too, not move down to the city all the time. It's beautiful and amazing here, and you can grow here. I am a perfect example, I feel like.
Yeah, and the city is really great. I love going down there, but there's some things about upstate that you just can't really get down there, the experience that you can get up here. And I think that's why you saw a mass exodus of creative individuals moving up into the capital region. I was shocked. There was a period where I had to shift from my live event work before I became director of ACE, and in my own consulting business was unable to do normal things. So I was working, helping some folks with some real estate stuff. And I couldn't believe how many creative people were moving up here because they just felt like they needed that extra space to be able to continue to have the headspace to pursue their craft.
Yeah, it's not even physical space. It's also that mental and emotional space that the upstate gives a creative that I think is really hard to find in larger cities such as New York.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're all starting to understand the importance of that particular aspect of our lives. And you're seeing people voting with their feet in many ways, leaving certain career paths and moving into the creative fields or moving physical locations to be in a place that's more conducive to their mental health.
Agreed. So I have another question for you. So.
Sure.
What do you see other organizations doing that you think maybe that's not the best way to tackle growing the local creative economy? So what are some things that you see organizations do wrong, and what are some things that we could do right?
Well, you know, I would have had a much better or direct answer for that pre-COVID. The Rona has changed a lot.
Yes, it has.
And I think no matter how excellent an organization was before, everyone has had to learn how to pivot in this new world where someone gets sick in your organization and you close down, 20 jobs for 2 weeks and try and figure out how to make up the difference. Some organizations that have a lot of public-facing activities in this sector have had a significantly difficult time reacting to those things. I think the positive aspect of creative individuals in this economy is that we're used to improvising. We're used to things coming at us, having limited resources, and so that places us very well to address these issues and maybe become front runners in the solutions that we have. I think being collaborative, I was just having a conversation with a philanthropist in the region, Chet Opalka, and him and I were having this conversation about how do we continue to sustain funding sources for these organizations, and it's really about we have to find new ways to integrate with maybe non-industry organizations and companies to figure out new and unique ways to be able to sustain one another.
Now, when you say non-industry, what does that mean?
That could mean for-profit businesses that aren't necessarily arts related, but maybe have some synergy that could be applied to those. So the example I like to use is when the Albany Symphony is playing in Albany, and Dominic has his restaurant there, DP, he's going to have a full house every single time. But, there are deeper levels of integration that could potentially happen. In Glens Falls recently, I was talking to Chris over at the Park Theater, and he was talking about how He's been developing connections with a local restaurant where they're actually having an exchange in cash flow that's a little different than I would normally expect, and we're just going to send these people over here. What it did is when one was needing extra assistance, the other would step in to help. I also saw this happening recently in Washington County, where Salem Artworks has been actively working with a local business to put programming in there, provide paid internship opportunities. These are all things that are benefiting the for-profit and the not-for-profit, but at the same time creating deeper and more meaningful ways of collaborative sustaining. And I think that this is really critical for us at this time that is so uncertain in our economy.
Very true, and I've noticed a common theme, collaboration.
It's a huge one.
That's very important for artists in the industry to grow.
Yeah, and I think some would say everything under the sun has already been done, and yet it's a new way of looking at things through creative expression that we can plumb those depths to find new opportunity.
Well, thank you, Corey. I appreciate you stopping by today. It was nice speaking to you.
I really enjoyed it, Jade, and I look forward to collaborating with you in the near future.
Thank you.